चॉइस, आपका सिलेक्शन हमारा मिशन।
When we talk about modern age, one of the most important poets, critic, or you could say a prose writer has always been T.S. Eliot, a Nobel Prize winner, and one of those poets who molded this age significantly. So today we're talking about T.S. Eliot, and we'll be discussing the poems that are included of T.S. Eliot in UPSC English Literature course, and of course, how to attempt a question when it comes in your exam. So hello everyone, this is Dr. Anamta Rizvi, and we are going ahead with the topic T.S. Eliot, Essential Canon and UPSC Analytical Patterns. Alright, so moving ahead guys. T.S. Eliot, if we briefly look at T.S. Eliot's history, so T.S. Eliot 1888 to 1965, the modernist sentinel. Eliot brought a paradigm shift in modern age primarily because in 1922 he brought out his Wasteland. Now that was the significant time जहाँ पे पूरा का पूरा modern age का पोएट्री लिखने का तरीका, चाहे वो novels हो गया, that completely altered. So Eliot moved poetry away from the Victorian, romantic, sentimental language towards intellectual rigor. When we read Wasteland, that is like the turning point in modern age, and you sense it because it has been written in a very different idiom, very different expression, and of course, very different thematic concerns. The triple identity. He famously called himself a classicist in literature, royalist in politics, and Anglo-Catholic in religion. वो अपने आप को इस तरह से बोलता था, classicist in literature, क्योंकि इसके पास classical learning बहुत ही, all of that classical learning reflected in his work. Of course, he was a royalist in politics and definitely an Anglo-Catholic in religion. The theory of impersonality, objective correlative, ये सारे theories T.S. Eliot ने as a literary critic बहुत ही like he brought them to the theorists, and he argued that poetry is not a turning loose of emotion but an escape from emotion. The poet mind is merely a catalyst. So basically he brought out the impersonality theory, he brought out this objective correlative, and of course dissociation of sensibilities. He also gave a very high pedestal to metaphysical poets. So T.S. Eliot, along with being a great poet, he was a great literary critic, a dramatist, and so much more. Nobel Prize winner. In 1948, he was recognized for transforming the poetic landscape of the 20th century. Now we will be looking at specific poems जो कि UPSC English Literature के optional course में included हैं. So the first poem that we have is Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, written in 1915. Remember this year, guys, this was the year where the First World War had just started, 1914 to 1919. Remember First World War? The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock is replete with the theme of existential crisis. Why are we in this world? What is the purpose? And of course, questioning everything around. All right, so the internal monologue of a middle-aged, indecisive urban man, जिसके लिए decisions लेना बहुत बड़ा problem है. So this modern anti-hero. So basically, Prufrock is the hero. लेकिन हीरो तो है, लेकिन एंटी हीरो, उसके अंदर कोई भी हीरोइक एलिमेंट्स नहीं है, डरा रहता है, इनडिसाइसिव है, लोनली है, बहुत ऑर्डिनरी है. So ये सब तो हीरो की क्वालिटीज नहीं है. But again, this is exactly what T.S. Eliot was making a point that the world has come where heroes nahi, anti-heroes would be the subject of poetry, of novels. So Prufrock represents the paralysis and fragmentation of the society which had happened because of the years of wars and of course the rigorous continuing questioning of existential crisis that we had. So this paralysis and fragmentation of the modern psyche. Signature imagery, the patient etherized upon a table and life measured in coffee spoons. ये कुछ ऐसे phrases हैं जो कि बहुत फेमस हुए लव सॉन्ग अल्फ्रेड प्रूफ्रॉक के. अक्सर क्वेश्चंस आते हैं एग्जाम में, इनके बेस्ड आते हैं. Key concept क्या है? Objective correlative. Prufrock's mental fatigue isn't described, it is evoked through the yellow fog, stale smells of beer. So objective correlative का मतलब ये था that what T.S. Eliot propounded in his theory was कि आप don't express in your words exactly what your character is feeling. For instance, Prufrock is feeling indecisive, or Prufrock is feeling full of anxiety. Don't mention that, but create an atmosphere, create those imageries through your words that will give the feeling to the reader that yes, he is feeling anxious, he's feeling indecisive, he's not courageous enough. और that is co-objective, correlative, जो कि J. Alfred, Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock में बहुत use किया गया है. So what is this poem in your course? Next you have is The Wasteland. Okay, 1922 का work है, one of the most important works, guys. 100% questions इसमें से आएंगे, and this is not to be missed. So, the context क्या है? Again, look at the year 1922 में लिखा गया है ये, and 1920 में कब 22 में क्या हुआ था? फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर को ख़त्म हुए बस 1-2 साल हुए थे. So you can imagine the magnanimity of the destruction that this war had caused psychologically, emotionally, financially, in every which way. So the context post-World War disillusionment, the world is a heap of broken images. तो जहाँ पे एक तरफ वर्ल्ड टूट रहा था, इसमें वेस्टलैंड में एक टूटा हुआ दुनिया दिखाई, टूटा हुआ अपोकलिप्सिक वर्ल्ड दिखाया है. The mythic method, Eliot uses the legend of the Fisher King and the Grail quest to provide a structured framework for modern chaos. Now this is the poem where वेस्टलैंड में T.S. Eliot ने अपना full classical learning का use किया है. He is talked about be it Greek, be it Sanskrit, be it Hinduism, Buddhism, be it any form of learning that he had achieved so far, he very well reflected in his work. Key technique, allusion and juxtaposition. He places high culture, Dante, Shakespeare, next to low culture, pubs, mechanized sex to show the decay of civilization. So he has shown a very rapid decay of civilization in his work, and that is reflected in everywhere. So there are 434 lines ki poem hai ye, divided into 5 sections. Burial of the Dead is the first section of Wasteland. Fear of Life, Rebirth, ye iska theme hai. A Game of Chess is the second section, जहाँ पे spiritual vacuum in both high and low society. So spirituality is absent, be it anywhere across the world. So Burial of the Dead, Fear of Life, or Rebirth, कि हमें, you know, you are born and you don't know what to do with life. And then of course a Game of Chess, and then you have the Fire Sermon, the central theme of sterile, loveless lust, the typist and the clerk. So basically यहाँ पे दिखाया गया है no emotional attachment, just bodily pleasures that are sought. Death by water, a reminder of mortality, that ultimately everyone has to die. And the last section, What the Thunder Said, the journey through the desert, and the final Sanskrit cry, Datta, Dayadhavan and Damyata. Alright, ends with 3 Sanskrit words. Alright, that is give, sympathize, control. Okay, that's a very powerful poem. It actually changed the entire course of modern age. 1922 is considered as the year because of Wasteland by T.S. Eliot. Next you have is Burnt Norton, 1935, The Seeking of Stillness. Now, again, you can see impact इतना strong था, and also the reverberation of the Second World War was so intense. 1939 में Second World War हुआ, 1935 में poem लिखा गया. So you can understand that अभी First World War से they had not just scoped up, but there were kind of sounds or mumblings of the Second World War already happening. So the first of the 4 quartets, that is, 4 quartets में Burnt Norton आपके course में है. This is first of the 4 quartets. इसमें 4 quartet है, एक ही Burnt Norton है सबसे पहले. This marks Eliot's shifts to a spiritual recovery, that he is moving. There is a hope that there he would be spiritually recovered. उस एज में जहाँ पे spirituality एकदम खत्म नहीं हो गई है, Burnt Norton brings with the hope that yes, there is a possibility of spiritual recovery. Central paradox क्या है? The intersection of time and timelessness. Symbolism क्या use किया गया है? The rose garden represents lost opportunity for grace or the might that have been. And the still point, Eliot seeks the still point of the turning world, a state of divine peace where the suffering of linear time ceases. So this poem is all again seeking, there is some meaning to this meaningless word. There is some hope in this hopeless world, and this is how he carries forward all the other quartets as well. Now, if we look at how you are supposed to write about, so you can, there are so many questions that, you know, that can come up, and, you know, जैसे wasteland पे अगर कोई question आया, okay, so, all right, so there could be a question on Wasteland that, you know, that how you are supposed to attempt an answer. For instance, it discuss wasteland as a place wherein the decay is rampant, okay? Or how is wasteland indicating this world to be full of decay? For instance, this is the question. There are number of ways that you can answer the question, but let's discuss the good strategy that you can adopt to write a full-fledged good answer. So what should be the hook? So the context is First World War, post First World War. So post First World War disillusionment, the wasteland is a metaphor for spiritual infertility. जहाँ पे spiritually सब infertile हैं, इनको कुछ भी spiritual solace नहीं है, कहीं पे सुकून नहीं है. There is no mental peace because there's so much of spiritual dullness. And then of modern man, alive physically but dead inside. Okay, so physically everybody is working, running, doing the jobs, but are they alive from inside? No. Now this is the hook wherein you are capturing your examiner's mind and saying that, all right, giving an idea that, you know, why does wasteland consider this world in a state of decay? Because of spiritual dullness. Now evidence, how we're going to talk about it? Here comes this second point, becomes your main element wherein you are going to give exact points from the poem. So for instance, unreal city, crowds flowing like ghosts in London, urban alienation. Tiresias का एपिसोड आप बता सकते हैं. The typist clerk encounter represents mechanical, loveless sex. Lust has replaced spiritual connection. So these are actually elements, points that you're picking up from your poem and discussing them in detail. The drought, the constant lack of water symbolizes the absence of faith and divine grace. Now over here you're talking about this, then comes your element of how you're going to give evidence of your answer. So unreal city, crowds flowing like ghosts in London, Tiresias episode. Okay, so you're talking about this. Now the synthesis. So we are talking about, so first we had that you're talking about the hook. Then comes the evidence wherein you're actually looking at the elements, and then comes the synthesis. So this is where your conclusion happens. So the remedy, Eliot looks to the Upanishads for the cure. So because उसकी ending एक hope पे हो रही है, एक spiritual enlightenment पे हो रही है, this is the reason that he is using those 3 Sanskrit words. End your answer on that. That T.S. Eliot does not end this poem with absolute hopelessness, no. But there is hope by using the words, that is Datta, give, Datta, that is to give, Dayadhavam, that is to sympathize, and Damyata, that is to control. So Western crisis meets Eastern wisdom, and this is how that this world will uplift itself from the state of decay by assimilating itself with the Eastern wisdom. When Western crisis meets Eastern wisdom, the poem ends with Shanti, suggesting peace is found through internal discipline, not external progress. So keywords क्या-क्या हो सकता है हमारे इसमें? Mythic method, fragmentation, objective correlation, Upanishad resolution, and so on. So guys, with this I'm coming to an end of this short lesson where I've just give you a bird's eye view that you know how we can attempt this question and how I conduct classes in my how the lessons are there, how I can conduct my classes, what discussions are there. ये बहुत ही छोटा सा एक snippet था of the elaborate discussions that we have, because W.B. Yeats, T.S. Eliot, Auden, these are not easy poets. You need guidance to understand. Alright, so we will soon be starting with our modern age, and we'll be discussing so many aspects to it. This was just one little aspect that I discussed. On 21st April, guys, I'm starting with my new batch. Alright, this would be a brand new batch wherein you are going to get all the material that you need. There will be live classes every day at 1 p.m. There's going to be discussion. All the notes that I will be having will be shared with you. There will be huge discussion in the class. Discourses होती हैं, उससे काफ़ी सारा understanding होती है. Notes मिलते हैं आपको. So again, guys, the course is only 14,999. You can get further discount. Use my code ARLIVE. Description box में सब कुछ आपको दिया गया है. How you can approach our sales executives, how they will help you, inquire about it. Go and look for the demo lessons that I have there on the website. And I really hope that you guys go ahead and I see you in the classes. And yes, you clear your journey of UPSC. Thank you, everyone. Hope to see you all in the classes.
StudyIQ IAS. आपका सिलेक्शन, हमारा मिशन.